Right, now to Manchester United and to the future of their manager, Erik Ten Hag. Our reporter, James Savundra, is here on set now. What's the latest? Are we any closer to any clarity around this situation?
Well, Manchester United fans will be hoping so. We understand the decision we made this week when it comes to Erik Ten Hag and his future at Manchester United. Now, the Dutchman, he's returned from his holiday now. I'm not sure how much of he'd be able to relax and enjoy the success of the FA Cup final win, because there's been so much speculation around his future for the last few months, and he is aware that Manchester United and the reports that they have been in contact with other managers. Now, we knew the club would undertake a review following the end of the season, regardless of what happened in the FA Cup final. That post-season review is still ongoing, more than 2 weeks since the FA Cup final. Now, as far as Ten Hag is concerned, he remains the Manchester United manager. He wants to stay at United. But the longer this review goes on for, the more potentially concerning it becomes for him. And we understand he's realistic now when it comes to expectations around his future. I think he's proud of what he's done over the last 2 seasons, albeit a really disappointing Champions League return, a really disappointing Premier League campaign. United finishing 8th, a negative goal difference, more Premier League defeats than in their history, but they salvaged their season, winning the FA Cup. And I think he thinks with a few additions, with players back fit, United have been decimated by injuries, especially across the back line as well. He thinks that he can improve upon United's league position, but because of what has been such a disastrous campaign on the field in many respects, there have been questions around his future. But as far as he's concerned, he's going to continue working as the Manchester United manager until somebody tells him otherwise.
Yeah, so questions remain over his future, but there is one person who is definitely out of the running.
Yeah, Thomas Tuchel, he held talks with Sir Jim Ratcliffe last week in Monaco about potentially replacing Erik Ten Hag if United do decide to change their head coach, but he is now out of the running. Now, depending on who you speak to, there's 2 different narratives here. As far as Tuchel's concerned and the Tuchel camp, he wants a break from football after what was a really challenging period at Bayern Munich. The first season in over a decade, they failed to win the Bundesliga. They came close in the Champions League, but they didn't end the season on the high they'd have hoped. So from a United point of view, Tuchel was just one of a number of candidates they've been speaking to, holding exploratory talks. We brought you the news earlier this month that United wanted to try and speak to Gareth Southgate and hold talks about potentially one day becoming the Manchester United head coach. So this review is still ongoing. It's hard to believe, really, it's still going on now because so many people want clarity, not least Erik Ten Hag. But as it stands, we're unclear. Manchester United haven't made a decision yet either about whether or not Erik Ten Hag will be leaving the football club. But we know Thomas Tuchel won't be the next Manchester United manager if they do make a change this summer.
Right, that is the manager situation. What about the future of Jadon Sancho?
Well, it feels that remains as uncertain as Erik Ten Hag's future. One thing we do know is Borussia Dortmund are in talks and remain in talks with Manchester United over a potential deal for Sancho. Juventus also interested as well. So there's a number of clubs in Italy and Germany keen on him. But crucially, United, if they are to do a deal in this window, and maybe that will hinge as well on the future of Erik Ten Hag, because we know they had a falling out and they couldn't work together last season, it seemed. But if United do let him go in this window, it'll be a permanent deal they'll look for. They want a permanent transaction because they want to improve their ability to buy players in this window when it comes to their profit and sustainability requirements and constraints, because United really have been feeling those over the last few years. And we understand an asking price around £40 million is what they're looking for if they're going to do a permanent deal in this window. It really worked out the end of last season, the second half of the season, for all parties, really, with Dortmund getting Jadon Sancho. 21 appearances he made, played brilliantly in the Champions League. He actually seemed to play better in the Champions League than in the Bundesliga, reaching the Champions League final with Dortmund in that final at Wembley. They came just short, qualifying once again for the Champions League. United were able to keep the value of a player who they signed for £73 million 3 years ago. They won't get that sort of money in this window, but I think if they can get £40 million, get him off the wage bill as well, they'd see that as a success. And I think Dortmund are really looking for a loan at this point in time. But for United, they want a permanent deal if they're to let Sancho go in this window.
Yeah, could be a busy summer for United. James, thank you.